Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of Wrestling with Awareness. I'm your host, Vikram Prashar. Today I have a very special guest for you. He is a WWE veteran and a WWE NXT champion. Today we are going to wrestle the mind with Big Con, aka Konnor. How are you doing today, man?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. Better than a lot of people are these days. How are you doing?
I'm doing great myself, and yeah, man. Just like you said, better than a lot of people are doing these days, and that's a really good opener for our first question because, in all honesty, it's February of 2021 while we're recording this, and I do believe 2021 has treated us much better than 2020 has. But gratitude is such an important thing when it comes to finding inner happiness and positivity. So, is there anything that you were grateful for that came out of 2020?
It's funny you ask that question because, a lot of people I've talked to, they talk about how this has been, 2020 was such a bad year, which, wasn't good, but there was a lot of positive in it too, because it gave us an opportunity to grow and think outside the box, try new things, whether it's new careers or anything like that. You've got to start to become a little more creative when it comes to maybe financial income, and how to just grow. I think in a situation, I think 20. It's the craziest thing because when my wife and I we sat together when the ball dropped, right? I actually cried. It was weird because I don't ever, I'm never like that. I mean, honestly, half the time I'm in bed, but this year for some weird crazy reason I stayed up and I watched the ball drop and I cried. And I was like, I'm really going to miss this year because it was the year that I truly grew. Like it helped me in so many ways, psychologically, physically, mentally. Like it was really good to me.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Obviously, with the pandemic and stuff, is definitely a tough year for the world, but I think as individuals, it helped a lot of people grow because honestly, I feel like a very different person coming out of this pandemic, and I feel like I've had to gotten a lot of time to spend with my family. It just definitely feels like, yeah, yeah, it feels really good, and like a lot of new things have come out of it, and I'm happy to see where 2021 takes us.
Yeah, right. I mean, some people it can't get any worse, you think, but I think 2021, there's a lot of light at the end of this tunnel from everything I've been studying and watching, when it comes to this whole pandemic and lockdowns and, of course, job losses and things like that. Um, but I think it's going to be a lot better than last year, so it's going to be very interesting, I think, for the most part. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too, and I think it's especially after 2020, where I believe honestly I'd call the year a blessing in disguise. Personally, I just think after going through that, what on paper, yes, for sure, on paper, it's a bad year. But for me, it was a blessing in disguise. And I think going through that just makes me excited to see what the future has in store because you can't have good without bad, right? You can't have positive without negative. So it's very crucial to have those times. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what 2021 has in store. So yeah. But yeah, so for everybody watching, Big Con is a member of the popular wrestling tag team The Awakening, aka The Ascension from WWE. And in 2020, you guys had your first independent wrestling match back in March before the craziness of this whole pandemic. I understand you're taking bookings now once again, but how is that first match back against Bull James and Bill Carr in Outlaw Wrestling?
Oh man, well, first off, we know them really well, and so it's always great to see people that you haven't seen in a while anyways. Um, so to be able to go back up, to go up there and be around positive energy and you know, people that were excited to see you, and then fan bases that were the fan base there was incredible that night, and it was nice to interact with them and kind of talk with them and see what their perspective was and what they thought. And it made you smile because it was like, wow, really? You guys felt like that? Like, you really appreciate it. It's like, that's so cool, man. Like that's so nice to hear once in a while, and it was great. I mean, we got to be around friends. We made a little bit of money. The house was sold out. There was a great card that night all around. And you made new friends too, So it was awesome. I mean, yeah, it's always great to see people you haven't seen in a while, especially when they're like family.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and especially that independent wrestling vibe. Because as a pro wrestler in training coming in, I've had experience building rings and stuff at independent shows, and just such a nice vibe with everybody there. Everybody, like, obviously being in a big company would be wonderful, and I hope that happens for me one day. But just it's something about the independent scene you just can't touch. Like, even when I've gone to WWE shows and I've gone to indie shows, they're totally different. I love the WWE shows, but there's just something about the independent wrestling shows where I think maybe since they're smaller, you feel like more of a family and you're with people you can actually talk to all around. It's definitely a great vibe, man. Absolutely. And you spent 9 years in the WWE, if I'm correct, and you were a part of the original NXT game show all the way up to the Ascension, which is definitely one of the bricks that laid the foundation for NXT. How does it feel to be a part of such a big part of NXT history? Really, you were there from the start, and then your tag team really laid the foundation for what it became today.
Yeah, I mean, you look back at it, it's really cool, because the original NXT, you didn't know, you didn't ever knew what, you thought that this was something you had to do, and then you would go to the main roster, and this was just, part of the job. But to watch that what NXT became, I never would have seen it coming. It's just its own entity, to see where it was then to where it's at now. It's unbelievable. Packing out, Barclays Center, for the pay-per-views. Like, I mean, Triple H, he's done such a great job with that product, and that's his baby. And it's just so cool to see the vision unfold to what he has or what he's seen, and watch it just grow and become this monster, but when you look back, it's just so cool. You look and you now you can appreciate it. Then you weren't really appreciating it because you were in the grind, you were clawing and digging, and you were doing whatever you could just to kind of keep going. And now you look back at it and it's like, wow, man, like that's really damn cool. When I look at it, still the longest reigning NXT champions, I just found out, which blows my mind, which is so cool, right? And to be around some of the talent that we got to be in the ring with, Finn, Hideo at the time, who we know as Kenta, Too Cool, just Big E. There's just so much talent that we got to be in the ring with and experience that. TJ, and you had TJ on your show. TJ was a part of that foundation, and it's so cool to look at what it's become, and just to know that you were a part of that. It's really humbling.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's crazy what it's become because it really is its own brand now, man. Like some people will refer to it as developmental, but I personally see it as its own brand. We've even got main roster people who want to go down there and want to compete for the NXT championship. We just had Edge on NXT not too long ago, man. So
Awesome.
it's really crazy to see what happened. But along with NXT on Wednesday nights, they have some competition. They're counter programmed by AEW Dynamite, which is also a phenomenal product. And they've been working with new companies. We recently saw NJPW's Kenta show up on AEW, the Good Brothers from Impact Wrestling, NWA Women, and many more. So, like, out of all the companies right now, AEW, NJPW, Ring of Honor, Impact, where would you like to work the most?
Well, first off, anything, when you look at all these companies, they're all great companies, and I really feel like you want to be a part of every company from all over the world, right? That's the whole reason why you get in the business, as you know, is to travel and to experience things. Um, when I look back, like when I look at it now with where I'm at in my life, like I think about, what would I really like to do? Where would I like to go? Eventually, if I ever had to go back, and put a suit and tie on, I would consider wanting to get my job back with WWE, to sit back and to possibly be an agent or even a trainer. But if I was to put the boots on, get back in the ring, me and my tag partner, I, I've just got this thing with ROH. Like there's just something about Ring of Honor. Maybe, Jay Lethal and I, we train, we're trainers together at the same school. I think, building that organic relationship has a lot to do with it. Angelina Love is there. She's like my sister who, we grew up in the business. We both started in Deep South Wrestling. So, you look at it and there's just a lot of, there's people that are there like family. Josh Woods, who I just got a chance to see last week, which was amazing seeing him. So I think it'd be Ring of Honor. Plus, they've got a really good tag division there as well, too. And I know, Vic had talked to me about, wanting to go there possibly and, stirring the pot a little bit. And honestly, like, I think it's on our bucket list. Like, we'd love to work the Briscoes.
That'd be a really good match.
We think the Briscoes we think the world of those two guys. So I think if I had to pick, I would pick ROH, but I would be open to just about anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
when it comes to going back. Yeah.
Yeah, and ROH is like a really good company. I started watching ROH again a few weeks back, and I've been really enjoying it with the Briscoes, the Kingdom. The pure title stuff is absolutely phenomenal right now.
Right.
So yeah, they're doing some really good stuff over at ROH. I even had Mike Bennett on the show not too long ago, and even though the way he's talking about it, just such good stuff Ring of Honor is doing. And he said for himself he would like to see Ring of Honor kind of join in this loop of AEW, Impact, and JPW all working together. So, like, what do you think about unity in professional wrestling? Because we went into like a very deep discussion there. And in Mike Bennett's case, he believes that that's like one of the best things that can happen for the sport in general. Just the fact that all the companies acknowledging each other in maybe one big super show every year, AEW, New Japan, Impact, would that be something that you'd be interested in working?
I mean, of course, like it's, you're always into the unity and the brotherhood when it comes to professional wrestling. Like, can it be done? It seems like it there's a little faction starting, but I've always found egos to get in the way when it comes to this business. Unfortunately, someone always wants to be the top dog. It always seems like, and I would love to see it. I just don't know if we can truly see everyone get together. You hope so. It'd be awesome, and it'd be fun to be a part of that. And yeah, I would love to see it. To be honest with you, I think it'd be really cool to see. You know what I mean? But then you're looking at it like this, then it's going to be all these other companies going against one company, right?
That's true. That's true. And Mike Bennett even said, I'm pretty sure he said he would love for WWE to be a part of it. He just knows that they most likely wouldn't. So, man, but it would be crazy. And this just brings me back to how crazy the All In event was in 2018. And with the rise of All Elite Wrestling, well, first of all, let's go back to All In. What was your thoughts? Because you were still with WWE at the time. Did you watch it when it happened in 2018? What was your thoughts on that event?
I caught glimpses and pieces of All In. But I wasn't able to get eyes on a lot of it. Generally when I'm home, I'm running around with my son. So, but I would hope it was good if I'm not mistaken. That was the first pay-per-view, correct?
Yeah, that wasn't the first AEW pay-per-view. That was kind of the pay-per-view that made AEW, because we had Ring of Honor, New Japan, and NWA all coming together for this big super show. Yeah.
Cody stole the show.
Oh yeah, that match was crazy good, man.
It was incredible, right? And I remember that was my first time ever, getting eyes on Orange Cassidy and the Rumble, the Battle Royal. I was like, who is this guy? And then because I don't know much about most of those guys. And then when I saw him nip up with his hands in his pockets, I'm like, and then die. I was like, you got to be kidding me! Like, how awesome is that, right? Like, that's so cool. Um, but we did rent it. We rented that, and my son watched Cody's match, and we actually recorded it. I remember thinking to myself after I watched it, like, that was refreshing. It was refreshing to see something different. It really was different, you know, and man, that's hard to top, that pay-per-view, because everyone was so excited. That arena was packed out. The buys were ridiculous, when it came to the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So many people were excited, so I remember really liking what I seen.
Yeah, of course, man. And it was really good. And like we've talked about AEW a little bit, going back to WWE, because you were there for a while, from FCW through NXT through the main roster. Who was your favorite person to work while you were with the company?
Oh man, there's a lot of people we worked, and there was a lot of fun talent. Well, so when we were in Deep South before it shut down and became FCW, I had the privilege to work William Regal, and that was a lot of fun. And I think when we did our NXT stunt, rated or our stint at the end there, like, we loved working with Finn and Hideo. That was a lot of fun. We were married to them for quite quite some time, and we were, we always did, like, quote unquote, the coconut loops down here in Florida. We did, a lot of the events together, and it was a lot of fun, man. We built a rapport with the four of us. We had Drake also as our referee,
Oh
um,
wow.
right, which was awesome. And so it was. I would have to say them. When it came to the most fun we had, it was definitely with them. But we also really enjoyed our match with Too Cool, because that was just a piece of, like, this is damn cool, man. We're actually in the ring with Too Cool. You know what I mean? And me and Vic were arguing over who was going to take the worm. It was oh, it's so funny. Um, so I would have to say, those three were probably my favorite matches that we had.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Really good ones, and just so crucial with the foundation of what became NXT, man. It's really crazy. And as someone who's been in the business for so long and has definitely contributed to making the business what it is today, I believe the pro wrestling industry will always thrive because of how many people want to be successful. So, what advice would you give to pro wrestlers in training like myself out there who are listening?
Yeah, what you put in is what you're going to get out. If you want to half-ass it, you're only going to get half-ass results. So, the grind is 24/7. If you're not in the ring practicing, if you're not at the gym training, you need to be watching tapes. You need to be, I said tapes. You need to be watching videos on, YouTubing your favorite wrestlers, studying the craft, understanding the business, asking a lot of questions, staying humble, be respectful, and don't get caught up in the wrong crowd too. That's a big deal. There's a saying, that if you step in crap for so long, you start to smell like it. So you want to be careful with that as well. And that's what we tell our students too at our school. So it's really important to keep that mindset, that hard work ethic, and that humbleness. Be willing to do what you need to do. It's just a job, and it can be the greatest job in the world.
Of course, man. And you touched on your wrestling school. How long have you been training people, man?
Oh, so here's the deal, right? So we were talking about how 2020, how much it's changed us. Well, that was when I became a trainer. I went to the school one day, and my wife, she was in, she had a couple shows coming up. She was training, getting ready, and she knew Jay Lethal, and so they reached out. We went to the school, and the rest was kind of history. Jay knew I was looking for a school, and he just asked me, "Hey, you want to come in with us?" And I was like, "That would be awesome." And so I've been, Jay, me, and David Mercury have just been, doing our thing, and it's been so good. We got over 40 students, two schools, and of course I got to plug it because it's Tampa Bay Pro. Anybody that's in the area, definitely drop a line, hit us up. It's a blast, it's a lot of fun. And so I started this year or mid 2020. So I'm still really new at it. And it's funny because I reached out to some of my trainers and talked to them about, hey, I'm a coach now. Can you believe this? Like,
Man, yeah. That is crazy because as someone who's currently training at a school, I'm very confident in my future in the business, but I just couldn't imagine myself being on the other side of things and being a trainer, man.
yeah, I
So
did.
yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, man, absolutely, and definitely contributing to the future of the business as well, which is definitely something I got to respect you for. But moving on from pro wrestling, because on Wrestling with Awareness, mental health has always been a topic of conversation. So if you are comfortable sharing, have you ever struggled with your mental health, and what advice would you give to viewers who could be struggling?
Oh yeah, absolutely. To me, I think it's normal, to be honest with you. As crazy as that
I
sounds,
agree, yeah.
every day is a struggle, just know that you're not alone, and everyone goes through it. Some handle it just different than others. But I always, and I'm not trying to preach or anything, but I always felt that God never gave me something I can't handle. So I try to tell myself that. And sometimes I try to step out of my shoes, reassess the situation, and just, try to take a bigger perspective on things, like how can I make it better, as opposed to, or what are the learning lessons, from this situation so that it doesn't happen again? Or how do I make myself better from this situation, whether it be through thinking or whatever it might be. But there have been times where, like I felt alone. Absolutely. I converted to drinking. There was drugs in my life, unfortunately. When I was a child growing up, my real father left me when I was born, and I didn't have my real father wasn't in my life, and my stepdad came in, and did exactly that. He stepped in, so there's always going to be issues that we go through, whether it's financial or mental. And, they just, you're just not alone.
Yeah. Of
Yeah.
course, man. Of course, man. Everybody listening, you are not alone. And once again, if you're comfortable sharing, because I don't think we've actually like we spoke on addiction with with Mike Bennett last week. We've spoke on different things. We've spoken on eating disorders, things like that. You grew up on you said you grew up without a father until your stepdad came in. If you're comfortable sharing with that, of course.
Yeah.
If not, no problem. But like, what's that experience like? And what advice would you give to maybe a kid in your position who is watching
Yeah.
right now?
So it kind of goes back to, there was a lot of hatred and a lot of upsetting, crying and not understanding why. But I look at myself now and I think about all those things that I went through. And now, because I have a son myself, I now know what I don't want my son to go through. So then I think to myself, like, thank you for not being there in my life, as opposed to, some years back, it was really upsetting, and I found out I had sisters that I never knew about, and then we connected, and but I'm grateful for the situation, because I always try to find the positive in every negative there is, always, no matter if someone passes, I always think about the love that I feel for them. They're showing me how to love. It's just, I can always just figure something out in my warped mind, I guess, on, making things better in my own mind, I suppose.
Of course, no, and I think that's an excellent tool. I think that literally is gratitude. I think it's just finding gratefulness out of everything that happens, because you have to take the bad with the good in life. And if you want a lot of good, a lot of bad is going to come with it. But it's just a roller coaster. It really is. And I appreciate you opening up about that. And once again, as someone who spent so many years with the WWE, we know the crazy schedule that all WWE superstars go through, the grind that is there. And you also have experience wrestling outside of WWE. So what are some common mental health struggles as a WWE superstar or just professional wrestler in general that maybe some people entering the business should be aware of?
Yeah, frustration, loneliness are probably the two biggest. When you get to, like, I think the bigger level, we talk about on the indies how great it is, and how everyone's like family and everything. But when you start getting into the money situation, the more money you make, you know, not everybody's going to like that. Everybody's trying to fight for that position. So you start to learn how to become a little lonely. And the frustration, sometimes things don't go your way and it's easy to get frustrated. So, those were two of the biggest things that I saw in my career when I made it. And, you have to expect it. Would you rather, Kevin Nash said it best, I think, would you rather make friends or make money in this business? Because you can't have both, and it's, it's crazy, right? Like, you're like, man, that just sounds cold, but it's the truth, man. The higher up you go, the smaller it becomes. So if you get to that level, be prepared.
Of course, and thank you so much for that advice. And as someone on independent wrestling, someone who's been in WWE, you're a pretty big public figure, and with the rise of social media and being someone in the public eye, I'm sure you've received your fair share of hate or cyberbullying and things like that. That can also be detrimental to someone's mental health. So how do you deal with hate on social media?
Wow. So that was really tough for me because I think the first time it was during the first NXT season 4, I got the first tweet that really it hit me the hardest because I thought everybody just loves everybody. Everybody's just happy. And, I opened myself up and then it ended up making me shut off and close back in. And I remember someone uh, said that they hope I get cancer and I die. And I remember thinking to myself, who does that? Like, who says stuff like that? Like, we're all human beings here, no matter, what the situation is, no matter how high up you are in this public life. We were all born the same and we're all going to pretty much, go the same. And so I learned as time went on with social media that sometimes it's not such a bad thing because usually those are people that situations are probably a little bit worse than what you're going through. And, and so, if anything, you just tell yourself that, hey, man, it's okay. You know who you are. You can look at yourself in the mirror, and if people want to say things like that, I would imagine they've got a pretty bad life. And granted, there's more good than there is bad, of course. But it's always those bads that really stick out for some reason.
Yeah, of course, and it's always the bads that mess with your mental health. And I think you said it in a very good way. Gary Vee's pretty much said it the same way. Is that how do you react? Someone asked him, how do you react to hate? And he said, with empathy, because if someone's going out of their way to hate on you to try to make you feel bad, chances are you're living a life that they either want or they're just jealous of, meaning their life they're probably going through something worse. And it sucks, but like there's never going to be getting rid of it, but at the same time I do think we can increase the positivity, and I think that's something that we should work on when it comes to social media. Definitely is, while we can't decrease the hate because that's always going to be there, we can increase the positivity and try to balance it out, and I think that's definitely the best way to go, man. So yeah.
Absolutely. 100, man.
Yeah, of course. So, as a very successful individual like yourself, what does Big Con do to keep a positive and healthy mindset and stay motivated?
Yeah. So for me, I surround myself with positive people. I surround myself with um, things that I like. Like, I love getting up. I love having a regimen. I get up at 5 a.m. I have my coffee and I go to the gym. I've got training partners that I work out with that are successful in life, but they're also family related men and they're just positive. So I can talk to them about anything and vice versa, and they can do that with me. Um, and then I'll come home and I'm around my son and my wife, which is always positive. So like I keep a regimen. For me, that's been the biggest focus on how to deal with a lot of that stuff is just regimen, good eating. I'm a vegetarian now, and I like it. which is crazy. I like it. And so there's just things that I do that help me stay on track. You know what I mean? And then the kids, they always reach out to me, the students, they want me to watch tapes or videos. I'm sorry. I'm really
No problem.
sure. My tapes. Um, or they'll talk to me about things that they might be going through. And that makes you feel good to be able to give back too. And so, I'm just surrounded by like-minded people, positive people, good people. And that's what I would tell anybody to do is, make sure that you surround yourself with like-minded people and positive people, good people that love each other.
Yeah, of course. And that's always, you hear it all the time, and it's because it's true. It's the fact that the people you surround yourself with is who you become. And I think school is the biggest example of this. As someone who just came out of high school, you'll notice, especially when you first go in freshman year, you notice some of the kids who are just very nice, very friendly, very positive. They get in the bad crowd. They'll probably come out of high school as one of those kids, which is unfortunate. But it's always about spreading love, positivity. Find friends who are always smiling. Find friends who will uplift you and motivate you. That's the best advice I can give to people. And I'm not saying don't be friends with people who are kind of in that crowd, but try to distance yourself at least a little bit, because it can definitely have its wear and tear on you as a person. So, I thank you so much for opening up about the mental health struggles. I thank you so much for the wrestling questions. That wraps up the questions, but before we end the interview, I always like to play a quick game with all of my guests. So I'm going to list off, yeah, I'm going to list off 10 people, and you can use one word or sentence to describe each of them.
Oh boy. Okay.
All right. All right. So we're going to kick things off with Jason Jordan.
I love him. I married him.
Xavier Woods.
Up, up, down, down.
We mentioned him earlier, Tyson Kidd, TJ Wilson.
Oh man. Best wrestler in the world to me, I think.
Yeah, he's really good. He's crazy good. PJ Black.
Daredevil.
Yeah,
He's a
man.
daredevil.
Yeah, he does a lot of crazy stuff, man. Corey Graves.
Tattoos.
That one definitely makes sense. The Usos.
Samoan.
Yeah, absolutely. Jey Uso's been killing it on SmackDown lately too.
I love those. I was about to put my Uso hat on for this interview, actually.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I love those boys.
Man, yeah, they're really good. Next up we have Primo and Epico.
Oh man, brothers.
Yeah, they're really.
They're just good brothers.
Yeah, man. I hope they get brought back. Carlito just came back at the Rumble. It'd be so cool.
Yeah, I saw that. He looked good.
Yeah. Yeah, he looked really good. Byron Saxton.
Best friend.
Juice Robinson.
Oh man. Dreads. Dreadlocks. I mean, that's just, I don't know if he even still has them. That's the crazy thing. But when I think about Juice, I just remember when he had those dreadlocks in NXT.
Yeah, man. And last but not least, your tag team partner, Vic, aka Victor.
Oh man. Badass.
Man, yeah, he really is. Both of you guys are, and I'm very excited to see your guys' future in the business and see where you guys are going to be headed. Thank you so much for joining me. Where can everybody? Oh, absolutely, man. It's my pleasure. It really is. Where can everybody find you on social media?
Yeah, so they can go to big_con1. Just look for the verifications on my Twitter, my Instagram. And any questions that you have, feel free to hit me up. Any questions for the most part, especially when it comes to mental health awareness, I'm always there for the most part. I always give shout outs to when I send videos and things like that for them. So just anything wrestling related, don't hit me up if you know what I mean. If you're looking for money or something like that, because I've been hit up lately for some weird random stuff, very bizarre.
Man, those bot accounts on Instagram are just crazy in the DMs.
Right.
Right? Yeah. Man, absolutely. Well, that's where everybody can find Big Con on social media. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just wrestled the bind with Big Con on this episode of Wrestling with Awareness. Please like, comment, and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.